Hey guys, it's me. I'm back. Happy New Year. 2015's over, so you know what that means. It's time to do top 10 lists. Sorry for this being late. A lot of things got in the way, including me recording this whole video and going on for way too long. And then the file just up and disappearing. No clue what happened to it, but who cares? I'm gonna push through this and redo it. And what list is that? Well, you probably already know because of the title, but it's the top 10 movies of 2015, my personal favorite. Now, before I start, a few things here and there. One, like usual, I will not be including superhero movies on this list. Why? Because usually on these lists, there are enough superhero movies to fill the whole list, or at least most of it. 2014, there were 6 films that would have made my list if I had had that rule. And this year, we've got probably enough to fill a whole list. Anywho, last year there were only 4, but they were all really good. And they would all rank high on this list if included. And of course, those are Ant-Man, Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, which finally gave my boy Hawkeye some spotlight. Then we have Kingsman, Secret Service, and we also have the return of Bruce Timm to DC Comics with Justice League Gods and Monsters. Okay, that out of the way, one more thing before we start, and that is that this year had a lot of good films. I mean, I could make a whole list of just movies that I should have seen but didn't, and they include such films as Bridge of Spies, Love and Mercy, Machina, Creed, Carol, Joy, Predestination, The Lobster, The Assassin, Sisters, Trainwreck, the Divergent sequel, The Last Hunger Games. Like I said, a lot of films that were good but just didn't make the list because I didn't see them. Most of which I do plan to see, just I didn't have enough time. Alright, so let's get to the actual list. And we start with an honorable mention. I know, I need to get to the damn list already, but I just want to quickly do an honorable mention to the movie Spy. It really shocked me. It was Melissa McCarthy and Paul Feig directing, and I was not expecting much. And honestly, if I made a top 11, this would probably be 11. And I think people would underestimate it, especially given the god awful poster. But I just wanted to give it a little spotlight before I start the actual list because you guys need to see this. So it's got good action, it's got good comedy. So without further ado, let's get to the actual list. And we're gonna start with a cheat. It's kind of a cheat, but I'll explain why later. Coming in at number 10 is a tie of Pitch Perfect 2 and Paper Towns. I really liked both of these films, but they both have flaws, but are both really good, and they have a lot of similarities. Both are aimed at a young adult audience. Both are dramedies. Both have good casts. Both teach you the lesson of be yourself, but don't be afraid to step out of your box every once in a while. And also, they both have the main flaw, which is they're a little cheesy and predictable, but they both are good in their own right. Like Paper Towns actually has some good adventure moments and some good heart. Pitch Perfect 2 has heart too, but in a different kind of way, and has some really good comedy, like one ongoing joke that I really particularly love, where it's Becca played by the lovely Anna Kendrick. She keeps trying to insult this one lady who's the head of the bad guy acapella group, but every time she does, she just can't and ends up complimenting her. Like, your hair smells like cinnamon. Damn it! But both are really good films that make you feel good. Granted, Paper Towns has a somewhat downer ending, but it still reels you with hope. And I could go on about both films, but I'll just say this: go see them both. Let's move on to number 9, Straight Outta Compton. I know, coming from me, probably a little strange, white boy nerd here, but it was actually really well done, and the acting was superb in this. It's one of the best biopics I've seen in a long time. It is really cool, and I know most of the soundtrack is just reused stuff from NWA and those guys, but it still is one of the best soundtracks I've heard in a while. The only reason why it's not higher on this list is, in my opinion, it didn't need to be so long. It felt kind of like a 4 or 5 act movie instead of a 3 act film. But still, it was really good. And even if you're not a fan of rap or NWA, I think you guys should check it out. It's just a good movie in general that addresses some deep, heavy issues of the time, which regrettably still are kind of going on today. Anyway, let's move on to number 8, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Oh boy, this was a good action film. It continued the story of the previous, but then it introduced a unique thing to it where it's an evil version of the Mission Impossible group. And I know that they've said that this is also addressed in Spectre, the new 007 movie, but I've yet to see that, so I don't know. But I can say that this was really good. The action was good, had me on the edge of my seat as far as action goes. Rebecca Ferguson was awesome as the new love interest. She's probably the best lead female I've seen in one of these movies, either that or second best. But I am so glad that she was coming back for this next one. And also, one other thing that made this movie really good and put it on the list was they actually upgraded Simon Pegg's role and gave him some time to shine. Granted, we could have used more from Ving Rhames, but still, Simon Pegg was freaking awesome. And so is this film. And say what you will about Tom Cruise in his personal life, but in his professional life as an actor, he cranks out some good action film. Alright, let's move on to number 7, Sicario. Yet another film with Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro that surprised the crap out of me that I did not see coming. If you don't get that reference, watch my top 10 movies from last year. Anyway, Sicario. This was a good film. It was a drama with thriller elements, and basically it talked about an issue that I like to see in my Punisher stories, which is doing the wrong things for the right reasons. Is that okay? Does the ends justify the means? And it's just a good anti-hero story. But the twist is that the anti-hero is Benicio del Toro, but he is not the main character. The amazing Emily Blunt is the main character, and she at least needs to win a nomination for an award for this performance, because oh boy, this is clearly, you can see the inner turmoil of someone put in this situation where they're not sure what they're supposed to do. And overall, it is just a good character piece that addresses some current issues like cartels and how far you're willing to go to stop them, and just everything that I've said. Alright, let's move on to maybe a happier film. Number 6, The Martian. Oh boy, this film. Matt Damon. Wow. Granted, this has a great cast, including some people who are in the Marvel Universe, or about to be in the Marvel Universe, or should be in the Marvel Universe, including Donald Glover, Jermaine Edgeford, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Sebastian Stan, Winter Soldier himself, Kate Mara, who was also in that god-awful Fantastic Four movie this year, and even Jessica Chastain. Oh boy, she is the newest star, but she is making waves, and she is really good. And she does a really good, more subtle role in this, where you see the conflict of her and being the captain. But the star of this film is definitely Matt Damon, who pulls this movie. Oh boy, you see all the mixed emotions going on within this guy: the loneliness, the despair, the hopelessness, But you also see the hopefulness, the determination, and the fact that he always tries to keep up a good attitude and he talks to the camera a lot. And you get to see some of his inner monologue and how he's dealing with all of this. And this is just a good film that showcases how good Matt Damon can be. And also, it is Ridley Scott back to being good again. Yes, thank you. Doing a hard sci-fi movie where it's realistic sci-fi. All right, let's move on to another big name director with number 5, Hateful Eight. Come on, it's Quentin Tarantino. How could I not include it on this list? Add to that, yet again, you have another amazing cast with Kurt Russell. I think it's Michael Madsen, who is a Tarantino staple, as well as Tim Roth, Samuel motherfucking Jackson, and a whole list of others, including one of my new favorite actors, Walter Goggins. Oh boy, this is just a good film that showcases Tarantino's work with dialogue and these guys together, their interactions. It actually has good mystery to it. Like, honestly, without giving too much away, there is a murder, and I did not see it coming. That that twist there, and honestly, this is just really good. Quentin Tarantino, oh man, he is a little freaky, but he's amazingly talented. I could watch his films all day. And all I will say left is Sam Jackson and Walter Goggins need to do more films together. Alright, so let's go from something a little bit adult to something more family friendly. Number 4, Inside Out. Pixar knocks it out of the park again. This is, I know I keep talking about cast, but this is an amazing cast. One second. Feature me, edit the sound. I'm really forgetting. Really forgetting. This has an amazing cast. I know I keep talking about that, but this one is like perfect, and the casting director, really good props to you. This was doing a hard sci-fi movie where it's realistic sci-fi. Alright, let's move on to another big name director with number 5, Hateful Eight. Come on, Quentin Tarantino. How could I not include it on this list? Add to that, yet again, you have another amazing cast with Kurt Russell. I think it's Michael Madsen, who is a Tarantino staple, as well as Tim Roth, Samuel motherfucking Jackson, and a whole list of others, including one of my new favorite actors, Walter Goggins. Oh boy, this is just a good film that showcases Tarantino's work with dialogue and these guys together, their interactions. It actually has good mystery to it. Like, honestly, without giving too much away, there is a murder, and I did not see it coming. That twist there. And honestly, this is just really good. Quentin Tarantino, oh man, he is a little freaky, but he's amazingly talented. I could watch his films all day, and all I will say left is Sam Jackson and Walter Goggins need to do more films together. Alright, so let's go from something a little bit adult to something more family friendly. Number 4, Inside Out. Pixar knocks it out of the park again. This has an amazing cast. I know I keep talking about that, but this one is like perfect, and the casting director, really good props to you. This was an amazing job. I am looking down right now at the list, which we have a newcomer, Caitlin Diaz, as Riley, arguably the main character. And she's a relative unknown, but she does a really good job at grasping the complexities of being a kid, but playing the other adult roles that are just simply known as mom and dad are none other than Diane Lane and Kyle MacLachlan. Wow. We even get some really cool side characters like Riley's imaginary friend, Bing Bong, voiced by, in my opinion, the underrated Richard Kind. And he does a good job at the surprisingly complexities of that role, which I will keep vague because I don't want to spoil anything. But the main cast, which is the main thing to go see this movie, is the emotions within Riley's head. We have Fear by Bill Hader. Oh boy. Disgust by Mindy Kaling. Oh wow, that's perfect. Sadness by Phyllis Smith, who, if that name doesn't sound familiar, she did an awesome job as Phyllis on The Office. Then we have our main emotion, Joy, voiced by the amazing Amy Poehler. Then, in the most perfect cast of all time, Lewis Black as Anger. Oh boy. And they all do a really good job. And this film is just so complex. It fills you with different emotions. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. It teaches kids lessons, including the lesson of it's okay to have mixed emotions. And the big lesson, which I will not spoil, you have to go see for yourself. But some adults could even take notes from this lesson. And it also has, you wouldn't expect it because it's the emotions within her head and her body, but it's actually a good adventure film as well. Overall, I really liked it. I think it might be higher on the list if not for the fact that I had to watch this in 2 separate sittings. Don't ask. And so I didn't get like the full immersion, but I bet you I will be seeing this again, and it might even be better second time around. Anyway, let's move on to what we're getting up there. Number 3, Mad Max Fury Road. This film isn't a film with a lot of good car chases in it. This film is a good car chase. It's like non-stop. And this also has a good cast. This cast isn't as well known. I mean, we do have some people like Nicholas Hoult and Zoe Kravitz, who are both in X-Men First Class. And then we have the awesome Tom Hardy as Mad Max himself. But the person who steals the show here is the amazing Charlize Theron as Furiosa. Oh boy, is that a badass character. And this is just like a badass brr, man movie. It's just good action and good character moments within that action brought on by the previously mentioned really good acting. And even if you haven't seen the Mad Max movies, you should really see this film. I mean, hell, it's one of the few action movies to actually get like award nominations. Anyway, let's move on to a more serious film, which I know will be getting awards. Room. Not that crappy movie with Tommy Wiseau, The Room. Just Room. This film, oh boy. I feel like I need to explain it because you probably don't know it. This is probably the least known movie on this list, It's just a good dramatic film about this woman who, when she's, I think they said 17, gets kidnapped and she stays there for 7 years. On the second year, she has a kid. And so we jump in on this kid's fifth birthday and we see their life and how they're living day to day. And we see what they're doing. And that all this kid truly knows is room. He doesn't know anything about the outside world. But then, now that he's getting older, he starts to think. He starts to think. Is this really it? Is this really everything? Could there be more? And Mama sees this as, oh boy, maybe it's time I actually had a partner in crime and we could escape together. And so they start plotting to escape. And I'm going to stop right there. Now you might be thinking, Brian, you spoiled the movie for me. No, this is a 2 hour film, and what I just explained stops at the hour mark. What really makes this movie tremendous and awesome and worthy of number 2 on this list, frankly, number 1 if it weren't for a certain film, but I'll get to that later, is what happens in the second half and how these characters deal with it. And no, I am not going to spoil it. And part of this is just simply down to the stellar performances by our 2 leads, Brie Larson and one of the best kid actors I've seen in a long time, Jason Tremblay. Oh boy, both these actors pull in stellar, award-worthy performances in this film. And I've gone on too long, but bottom line, you need to see this film. This film is awesome. And now we go to number 1. We go from probably my least popular film on this list to the most, and that would be none other than 50 Shades of Grey, the movie. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Star Wars. How could it not be Star Wars? The Force Awakens. I mean, oh my god. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Well, I mean, not huge, but I'm a big Star Wars fan. It has a good, nostalgia for me. One of my favorite gifts growing up for Christmas was Star Wars box set that collected all 3 films in VHS, and it even had an engraving thing that looked like Vader. It had slipped case for VHSs. Oh boy, it was awesome. And I love the original trilogy. It's great movies altogether, and I was so disappointed in the prequels. But then this film comes and oh, it hit every expectation and went beyond it. Now I know that gesture was not really appropriate, but it accurately fit what I was trying to say. But anyway, so this film is just great. It has some of the classic characters that you know and love, and it gives them their time to shine. But then it introduces new characters and focuses on these new characters, and these new characters are badass. We have a scavenger, Rey, who's destined to do a lot more. We have Finn, a former stormtrooper who realizes the error of the new order immediately on his first trip out. Then we have Poe Dameron, one of the rebellion's best fighters, and even he comes out of nowhere because you don't really expect him because you don't really see too much of him in the promotion. And then, of course, we have one of the best new characters, the cute but still quirky BB-8, who, like all droids within this universe, even if they can't speak, they have a personality, and his personality is very quirky and very awesome. Even a special moment with Finn, but I won't spoil that if you are one of the few people to not see it yet. And also, we have the biggest new character, Kylo Ren, who is a man conflicted, feeling the pull from both the light and dark. He is neither Jedi nor Sith. He is a Knight of Ren. And oh boy, he has a lot of stuff. But anyway, this film, it has that adventure and that good sci-fi that the original fills you with. And yes, I know people have looked down upon it saying that it mimicked the originals, but I think that's on purpose and it helped to establish it within this universe. I mean, it has been decades since we've seen a good Star Wars film. We need that reminder. We need that feeling. My only complaint with this movie summed down to two names, R2D2 and 3CPO. And even though I love those guys in this film, they're both a little annoying for separate reasons. And I don't want to go into it because I don't want to spoil it. But just know that this film is awesome and I loved it. It is the best Star Wars film in decades since the original trilogy. I know a lot of people are saying that it might even be better than some of the films in the original trilogy. I don't know about that. I need to rewatch it in order to say that, but I can't say that it doesn't surprise me. This film is just great, and I'm starting to repeat myself. Sorry about that. Anyway, I've been going on for too long already. I will see you guys next time, where I will either be talking about my next top 10 or Supergirl, depending on how fast I can edit this beast. Anyway, till then, see ya. Bye.